What's up guys, today's video is on the top 3 best handheld gaming consoles of 2024. Through extensive research and testing, I've put together a list of options that'll meet the needs of different types of buyers. So whether it's price, performance, or its particular use, we've got you covered. For more information on the products, I've included links in the description box down below, which are updated for the best prices. Like the video, comment and don't forget to subscribe. Now let's get started. Number 3 Logitech GCloud. At its core, the Logitech GCloud is a 7-inch Android tablet built into a custom hardware shell that features everything you'd expect on a modern gaming controller, including dual analog sticks, a D-pad, 4 face buttons, bumpers and triggers, as well as option buttons, a home button, and what Logitech calls the G button. Internally, the GCloud features a Qualcomm Snapdragon 720G, a nearly 3-year-old mid-range 8-core processor designed for efficiency over power. Since most of the heavy lifting is done server-side for cloud gaming, this isn't too big of an issue. However, if you plan to download and play games locally from the Google Play Store, don't expect cutting-edge performance. It also has 4 GB of RAM and 64 GB of flash storage, with the option to expand that further via a microSD card. The 7-inch LCD display features 450 nits of brightness and IPS technology for good viewing angles. It boasts a 1080p resolution with a 60Hz refresh rate that, honestly, is more than enough for cloud gaming. The display also supports multi-touch, so typing on the on-screen keyboard isn't such an egregious experience, and it allows you to navigate menus with a finger, if you prefer. Some apps don't recognize the built-in controls anyhow, so touch is your only option in those cases. Since most of your gaming time will likely be spent streaming games as opposed to running them locally, you can expect to get roughly 12 hours of battery life from the 6000 mAh internal battery. Number 2 Asus ROG Ali. The ROG Ali has a 7-inch, 1920 by 1080 120Hz IPS LCD touchscreen. The display supports a variable refresh rate with a 48 to 120Hz refresh window, and below that limit, low frame rate compensation kicks in. The display supports 8-bit color with full sRGB coverage, 500 nits peak brightness, 7 milliseconds response times. The display on the ROG Ali is quite good. You get very good color performance out of the box with a reasonably accurate white point and color saturation. Viewing angles are also good, and the display gets fairly bright to be usable outdoors, but there is no automatic brightness adjustment, so you have to change it manually every time. Response time performance is also decent, and there was no motion trailing or inverse ghosting happening. The touchscreen also felt responsive. The display has 60Hz and 120Hz modes, and you can quickly toggle between the two through the command center. Switching to 60Hz doesn't bring so much power savings, and you'd be losing the VRR feature, so it's not worth bothering with. You can also toggle between 720p and 1080p, but again, it's not worth using as it's better to reduce in-game rendering resolution or use image upscaling technologies like FSR, as they maintain the HUD resolution and upscale the rendered image. The display quality and performance on the ROG Ali are certainly on a whole different level compared to the Steam Deck. You get higher resolution, higher refresh rates, and better color performance. It makes Valve's decision to go with a bargain basement panel seem even more glaring. The ROG Ali comes with AMD's latest Ryzen Z1 series of APUs. Number 1 Nintendo Switch OLED. The new 7-inch OLED display is the most prominent new design feature, and it's surprisingly impactful, despite only being 0.8 inches larger than the original Switch's 6.2-inch screen. As a result, the Switch OLED is slightly bigger than its predecessor. It's 0.1 inches longer, at 9.5 by 0.55 by 4 inches, WXDXH, but it still feels immediately familiar in the hands. The Switch OLED has a bit more heft about it, though. It weighs 422 grams with the Joy-Con attached, about 22 grams more than the Nintendo Switch. Thankfully, we didn't find that the added weight caused any fatigue when playing, but it's worth bearing in mind if you already feel like the Switch is a touch on the heavy side. Even though the original Nintendo Switch was approaching its 5th anniversary when this released, the Nintendo Switch OLED model offers no performance boost whatsoever. The enhanced display aside, the best Switch games look and play the same as before, with the new console having the same NVIDIA custom Tegra X1 processor and 4 GB of RAM as its predecessor. This will disappoint those who are hoping for a more powerful Switch model, which has often been dubbed a Nintendo Switch Pro. Most Switch games still play perfectly well, of course, but there's no doubt that the console's hardware is beginning to show its age. That's especially true that the PS5 and Xbox Series X are on the market. Thank you watching this video. Do like and subscribe.